Alright, so it's been a few years since I've done a video on my Winter Steelhead gear kit, so I figured I'd do an updated video going into this winter season. When I say gear kit, I'm talking about the items I have on my person while I'm wade fishing for winter steelhead. So my waders, wading jacket, wading boots, the items I carry on my wading belt, my tackle storage system, my net system, and a few other items as well. So in this video, I'm going to cover my current gear kit going into this 2025-2026 season. So let's get started. So one thing I noticed as I compiled this list is the number of items that I currently use that have been discontinued, or maybe the models changed just a little bit. So I've done some research for similar quality items, not only for you, but for myself, because eventually some of these items are going to need to be replaced. Also, a few of these items I've done more extensive gear reviews on. I'll identify those as we go, and I'll put links above to those. I will also compile this entire list in the description field below with links if you want to check current pricing and availability. Okay, so starting with the most important piece of gear for a winter steelhead fisherman is a good pair of waders. I started using Simms waders, I would say 6 or 7 years ago. I started with the Tributary, which is the entry level. Currently they're like $280, even though you can often find them on sale. A couple seasons ago, I upgraded to the Freestones, which currently are around $450. Again, I didn't pay anywhere near that, but let me kind of explain to you why I like the Simms waders. So even the entry-level Tributaries and the Freestones, this lower portion, so the leg portion, there's 4 layers of material. That's one thing that used to kill my old cheaper waders like Hodgman's or Cabela's waders, is that I always get punctures in this lower leg area. But the Tributaries and the Freestones both have 4 layers in that lower leg portion. The Tributaries, the upper portion, has 3 layers, and the Freestones like these have 4, so it just continues all the way to the top. They've been excellent waders. Even my Tributaries, I got I think 4 or 5 seasons out of. They're still functional. I actually have them as backups, and I've been using them for surf perch fishing. So I'm going into season 3 with my Freestones. I would just recommend getting a pair of Simms. They've just been excellent. So the size I chose are the large, and the shoe size is 9 to 11. Now I figure that's important to explain to you because I actually wear a size 12 boot. So the other option was a size large 12 to 13 shoe, and so I thought, I don't want the booty to be too tight, and that's why I was worried about going with these. So I actually called Simms, and the guy told me go with the smaller size, and I'm really happy I did because they fit really snug, so they fit in my boot really well. Anyway, been very happy with Simms. I just can't seem to kill these things. So next, let's talk about wading boots. So I switched to using Corkers 4 seasons ago. The first set that I bought are the Dark Horse, which is this model right here. They're a little bit more reinforced, like in the lower foot portion, and the top is probably a little bit more supportive and a little bit more padding. But last year, after using these for 3 seasons, I decided to try the Devil's Canyons, which are more like a hiking boot. They're a little bit lighter weight, they're a little less bulky, especially in the upper portion where your gravel guards go over. That's what I really noticed with the Dark Horse, is it feels kind of snug. It kind of is hard to get those gravel guards over the top of the boot. It's just a little bit more material up on the top. So Corker's claim to fame is the fact that the soles are removable. So the Dark Horse model that I bought came with the felt soles, which are on here right now. I had these on here because I was using these in my drift boat, and they also come with a rubber sole. I have found that the rubber sole is really slick, especially on bedrock, so I just prefer to use the felt when I'm in my drift boat. So on my Devil's Canyons here, you can see I have brand new set of felt with studs. That's what I prefer to use for wading, especially on bedrock. Unfortunately, you can't get any configuration of the Corkers that come with the felt with studs. You got to buy those separate, and they're $50. The other thing I like about the Corkers boots is that they have the BOA lacing system on the more expensive models anyway. So that's kind of like a snowboard boot that has a series of wires rather than like material laces. So to tighten, you just push this tab in, twist that, and it tightens those wires. At the end of the day, you pull that knob out, you pull that out, you pull your foot out, and that's it. One thing that I've heard people complain about corkers is that they lose soles. Now, it is possible. I've heard of it happening. I haven't, in the 4 seasons I've used them, lost a sole. However, at one point I lost, or I should say that they came undone because I had stepped in that really sticky mud along a riverbank and I felt the sole being dragged behind. Well, not only are they connected up here in the toe area, and then you can see there's several tabs that click in, but there's a little tab on the back of the heel, and that's what was still connected. So I didn't actually lose my sole, but just be aware that if you're wading anywhere where there's really thick mud or sand. I've done gear reviews on both of these, so I'll put links above if you want just a little bit more information, but I've been pretty happy with them. I really like the BOA system. I never want to deal with laces again. Okay, so the last piece of what I would consider outer gear is a good wading jacket. And a wading jacket is essentially a raincoat that only comes down to your waist for obvious reasons, so that when you're out in the river, it's not dangling down in the water. And you don't want to tuck your rain jacket into your waders because obviously rainwater is going to get down into your underlayers. But this is a Simms guide jacket. It's actual Gore-Tex. I think you can kind of see how solid that material is, how thick it is. That's what you need to really bead that water off of you. I've been in just absolute downpours and stayed completely dry with this thing. The other nice thing about it is it's got these cuffs inside that you can really tighten up on your wrists. I kind of lose all sense when I'm releasing the steelhead, and oftentimes will dip my arms under the water to kind of get that thing going, and it just prevents water from rushing like up inside. I know these things are expensive. I think I paid $350 for that. I mean, the Gore-Tex models are going to be more money because Gore-Tex has got to get their money. But it's one of those buy once, cry once, as I used to say. So I highly recommend a good wading jacket. So as the name implies, winter steelhead fishing, it's going to get cold at times. And the best way to keep warm is with a good layering system. You don't want to wear anything too bulky because you're going to overheat. Or at least I do, because I'm pretty active when I'm wade fishing for winter steelhead. So I'm going to share with you a few of the pieces that I use as my layering system. I generally start out with wearing like a workout shirt, just like a t-shirt. That way that's my first layer, and at the end of the day I can take off the over layers and that thing can dry out really fast. Because I'm pretty active again and I'll get sweaty. So then I'll generally wear it like a thin layer, like maybe just a sun hoodie or something like that, because even in the winter time sometimes it can warm up quite a bit. But this piece here, it can be worn as an outer layer if it's not raining. It's a KLAMATH First Light hoodie. It's been discontinued. This is one of those items that unfortunately they quit making. They had a special run of them last year. Clearly people wanted them, and I bought a black one immediately. I have it in gray, and I have a camouflage one as well for hunting. But it's a grid fleece, so it keeps you really warm. In the winter, I can wear the 3 layers, including this, and I'm perfectly fine. They do still make it in a quarter zip, but obviously that doesn't have a hood. So what you could do, potentially, that would be a good piece, and maybe you could just wear like a skull cap. The next piece is a pair of wader liners. So wader liners are just pants that you wear underneath your waders. Don't get anything too thick because you're going to overheat again. At least I do. I've had wader liners in the past that were like a real heavy fleece, and I just got too hot. LLBEAN unfortunately discontinued these. They're like a 200 level fleece, so they're really thin. Nice thing about wader liners, like these ones, they have a stirrup at the bottom, and the bottom of the leg is kind of tapered. The stirrup is so that when you pull on your waders, it doesn't pull your pant leg up to where it leaves your lower legs cold. There's a bunch of different companies that make these. Simms makes them, Orvis, Drake, and Grundens. I have no experience with any of those, so I'm just going to leave it to you to research those. But wader liners are kind of nice to have. And finally, a good pair of socks. What I noticed when I got my corkers is that my feet were getting just a little bit cold. They have a water flow system in them that allows the water to flow out really fast. And It's because it flows out, it flows in too. So I used to just wear like a light pair of merino wool socks, but I switched to using a heavyweight version. These are like 32 bucks, but Darn Tough makes really good socks. Once I upgraded to the heavyweights, my feet just don't get cold anymore. Plus, Darn Tough has a lifetime warranty, so if there's a hole in them, you can send them back and they will give you a coupon code for a new set. The other nice thing about merino is if they get damp, either from just like a little bit of sweat, or you have a pinhole leak and they get just a little bit damp, they still maintain their warmth. Alright, so now let's talk about wading belts and the tools that I carry on mine. A wading belt is a necessary item if you're going to be river fishing. It is a safety device because if it's properly fitted and you slip and fall in the river, it's going to prevent water from just rushing down inside your waders. It also will trap just a little bit of air to keep you buoyant. On one side of my wader belt, on the left side, I carry a wading staff. This is one of those items that's been discontinued. It's a full staff, it's 51 inches, it's got a carbide tip, but what's nice about these is, let's say I'm either chasing a steelhead or I'm just wading in an area I'm unfamiliar with. I can pull this out and it just springs into place. Simms makes one that's similar. It's around $170 regular price. If anything was to ever happen to this one, I would probably replace it with a Simms because I wouldn't want to skimp on this piece of equipment right here. And it comes with a holster, so it's always at your side. On the right side of my wading belt, I have a pair of pliers. These are P-Line Adero Juniors. They're probably 15 years old. They're aluminum. They have a stainless steel jaw and they have a line cutter. So the nice thing about these is if you're releasing a steelhead, you have to take a hook out because it's really buried. I can just let these pliers go. Like sometimes in my videos you'll actually just see these dangling behind me because I'm so concerned about the welfare of the fish, I just drop my pliers. The other thing I have on the left side of my wading belt is a carabiner. Now this is part of my net system. If you've watched any of my videos, you probably have seen a net like this. This is a Fraybill wading net for salmon and steelhead. It's catch and release, it's got a rubber coating, and I attach it with one of these magnets to the back of my chest pack, so it's always right behind me. I've done a gear review on this, and in the review I show how to set up this system. You want to make sure to get this particular magnet because a lot of the magnets just aren't strong enough. But I have tied some 550 cord to a little clip right here, and I put that on my wading belt. So if I'm releasing a steelhead and once the hook's out and I'm holding the fish, I can just let my net go and I don't have to worry about it floating off. I have lost a few of these by letting it go and not having a lanyard connected to me. But again, I've done a gear review on this and how to set it up, and I've also done a video on how to net steelhead while solo. So I'll put links to both of those above. So now let's talk about tackle storage while you're on the river. I'm a chest pack guy because I want to have everything right at my fingertips if I break off and I need to retie. I don't want to have to go back to the bank for a tackle bag or box or for a backpack. With a chest pack, I have everything right in front of me so I can retie and get right back to fishing so I don't waste any time. I've tried other things, like here's a waist pack that I've used. I still do use it occasionally for drift fishing. It's got my drift fishing stuff in it. The problem with the waist pack is depending on how deep you're wading, it's going to get wet. Another option is a sling pack. What's nice about sling packs is, once you've retied, you can kind of put it around on your back. The problem with them is that if you forget to zip it, you're going to lose some stuff, probably in the river. So this particular chest pack is an Umpqua Overlook 500. Unfortunately, this is one of the items I found out was just discontinued. They came out with a new model that's pretty nice. It's called the North Fork. I have not looked at it yet, but it's quite a bit cheaper than this one. This kit is $160. It includes 2 back panels. I usually use the flat back panel, but it comes with this backpack portion as well. The North Fork is right around 100 bucks. I think right now it's on sale for $82, but again, I have not looked at it. So now let's go over some of the attachments I have on my chest pack. Starting out with the left side here, I have a boomerang tool. If you haven't used one of these, they're a pretty handy little device for cutting line. It cuts braid and mono equally as well, and it has a built-in retractor. So I just have one of those on the left side of my chest pack. They're about $12 to $16 depending on the day. I also have a satellite messenger. This is a Garmin inReach. These are $250 right now. It's the Mini 2. I know that the newer iPhones have satellite messaging capability, but I can tell you, when I was in Wyoming this year, you have to point your phone at the satellite for so much time that if there was a true emergency, I could see a situation where you would want a satellite messenger because the technology just isn't quite there. So I just have this with me. A lot of the coastal rivers don't have cell service. On the front, the nice thing about the Umpqua packs is that they have this strap, so I'm able to put my GoPro directly on the front of the pack. And that's just utilizing a Telesin backpack mount. This is a GoPro Hero 13, which is the newest model. This year, they didn't come out with the 14. Hopefully they come out with that in the spring, because I always buy a new camera and do gear reviews on those as well. But the Hero 13's been an awesome camera. It is a little different than the Hero 9 through 12 because it has a different battery system. So that's kind of a bummer. If you have a 9 through 12 and you want to upgrade, you're going to have to get new batteries for this one. So on this side of my chest pack, I have a whistle. Now I use this for two different things. The main thing I use it for is to get the attention of a fishing buddy if I've hooked a steelhead in there just out of shouting range. But really what these are for and why I have them not only on my chest pack but on all of my life jackets like in my Hughescraft is that if there's any kind of emergency you can blow on that and it can really get somebody's attention. Especially for wade fishing, if you're by yourself, if you have a foot entrapment, you fall in and you get hung up in a strainer and you're able to blow on that thing, that can really travel. So I always have one of those on my chest pack as well. So a few final thoughts on this chest pack. Even though Umpqua has discontinued this model, I noticed that there's still a few of them floating around out there, so you might want to get on it if you want one. Also, I noticed on Amazon that there is a company that makes one almost identical to this. It's a different offshoot brand, and it's half the price of what the Umpqua model is. I have no experience with it. I'll put a link below to that one, and if you get one, let me know what you think. Also, if you want to know what I carry inside my chest pack, I'm not going to bore you with that on this video, but I've done a complete separate video of everything that's inside, like all of the tackle I actually carry while I'm on the river. I'll put a link above. So next, let's talk about rod transportation. Now, I haven't covered this in the past, but I've had a lot of questions because people see this gear when I'm out on the river fishing, so I'm going to bring it up. You may notice that when I arrive at the river and I'm going over my rods, that I have them set up like this for travel. So these are fishing rod butlers. They're just a handy way to connect your two pieces of rod together. And this is a lure wrap. This is made by a company that Amazon sells. It's called Dr. Fish. I've got other ones that are made by like Bass Pro Shops. But it's a lure wrap, but what I use it for is when I'm driving, I don't want to listen to my weights or lures banging on my rods. Plus, it could potentially cause a wear mark in your rod. So I have a bunch of these lure wraps that you can wrap, like just so that this isn't rattling around while you're driving down the road. I can put one on my float, and then I can put one on my jig as well, so I just don't have to listen to that, and it protects the rod as well. The other thing is when I get to the river, this is a very cheap and simple way to carry your rods around while you're just running up and down the river system. I don't recommend you using one of these if you're driving from whatever town you live in over to the river. I'm at least an hour from the closest steelhead river. But anyway, this is just a bungee cord that I attach across the back of my pickup. It's just got some cheap zip ties on it, and it just keeps my rods separated. So if I've got multiple rods and I even have a buddy with me, we can put multiple rods in the bed of the truck just when we're changing spots, and that way we don't have to break them down and put them inside the pickup. But this is probably $5 worth of material. These things should be around $4 or $5. If it's more than that, keep looking. And the Dr. Fish lure wraps are about $12 for a pack of 3. So last but certainly not least is a good pair of polarized glasses. These are Smith Reddings with a 33% amber lens. So 33% VLT, what that means is it's the amount of light that the lens allows to travel through. So to give you a perspective, a dark lens like you'd wear in the summer are generally anywhere from 10 to 15% VLT, which means 85% of that light is being taken out. So in the winter, you obviously don't want to be wearing anything that dark. So amber lenses come in real handy for winter steelhead fishing, and these are some of the lighter ones that I have found. You want to be wearing glasses while you're steelhead fishing for a couple reasons. One, for wading safety, drift boating safety, so you can see the structure on the bottom of the river, but also to protect your eyes from projectiles. This particular model right now is $159, but I've noticed that the price fluctuates, so if you're interested, you might put it in your wish list and just watch until the price comes down a little bit. Well, thanks for sticking around until the end. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comment field below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If I missed something, if you have a tip for me, leave it in the comment field below. We can all learn from one another. And as a reminder, I'll put a list down below with links so you can check current availability and pricing. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.